For this week's podcast, I wanted to talk about how we disagree, or how getting to the place where we disagree all the time that we can't even be civil and kind and nice. And then as I made it through this holiday season, I began to think more, well, it's not just about how we disagree. Sometimes we find ourselves in situations where we need to know how to actually agree with each other. I saw something on Facebook. It wasn't all that long ago, but I see this repeatedly every once in a while. You know how things on Facebook tend to recycle themselves and keep coming back up. And the statement was about agreeing to disagree is okay when it comes to opinions, but that does not include being racist, homophobic, transphobic, showing hatred to groups of people, telling lies about groups of people, stepping on some people so that you can raise yourself up. Those are not issues where we can agree to disagree. In fact, in my life, I've cut a lot of people out. There are some people that they claim they're saying their opinions, but their opinions are full of lies. They're supportive of people that want to hurt other people. I just can't go there. So I have cut a lot of people out. That's kind of difficult. Living in a world and getting along with people, whether they're friends or whatever, it's not easy. It's not easy to do. And with family, it becomes even more difficult. I put up with more stuff from relatives than I ever would with friends. There are friends that I've cut out of my life, and yet I've got relatives who participate in the same behaviors of the friends that I've walked away from. So there's a whole other layer about how do you deal with relatives who do and say stuff that's incompatible with you, or what's incompatible with me. And what's incompatible with me is firmly entrenched in the life and the lessons of Jesus, where Jesus taught us to love people. You can't hate people and claim to be a Christian. It just is not possible. I would go so far as to say somewhere between 50 and 90% of the people that call themselves Christians in American Christianity, if you will. I don't even like using the word Christianity because most of the Christian denominations are not Christian. They're nothing like the actual Christ that lived and taught and modeled for us how to treat people. So when I'm looking at how do you live in the world and disagree? Well, if we're disagreeing about things that don't really matter, well, if you have an opinion, then it does matter. Like, I can go very simple, talking about your beliefs and opinions about religion in general, I guess. There are things where I believe I'm right and differing opinions are wrong, but that's not necessarily going to mean we can't be friends. Whether, even if we have a lot of similar beliefs and values, but we have disagreements in communion. I know my beliefs, personal beliefs about taking communion, a sacrament at many Christian churches. My beliefs are a little different probably than most people. And That's okay. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me that someone else may believe different things about communion than I do. And it shouldn't matter to them if my beliefs are different. My beliefs about prayer are very different. Some of my beliefs about Old Testament scriptures are very different than from others. But those shouldn't. Yes, they matter, but they shouldn't matter when we're talking about relationships with other people. If we're talking about being racist and hating other people and not being at all concerned if we rip children away from their families and we put them in cages and then a year later we have no contact between who came from who and you can't even get them back together, that's just not right. I started to say, I'm sorry, that's not right. I'm not sorry to say that's not, that is not right. And anyone who supports that is not right. You can't be supportive of those sort of behaviors and be an acceptable human being. That's just the way it is. And having those sorts of conversations, agreeing to disagree does not work. We can't agree to disagree so that one person can be racist. That doesn't work. And I don't want to have any part of anyone who's racist or homophobic or transphobia right now. The transgender people are the punching bag of America right now. Blame everything on a transgender person and you can win elections, you can do all this stuff. You can just flat out make stuff up about a group of people, whether you understand them or not. Just make stuff up and things okay. So to me, that's not about agreeing to disagree. To me, that's not agreeing to disagree. Agreeing to disagree might be potato salad. I like my potato salad a certain way. Probably most people don't like potato salad the way I like potato salad, and that's okay. I can be friends with people who don't like my potato salad. We can agree to disagree on that. We cannot agree to disagree if we believe a certain group of people need to be eliminated from the face of the earth. They should not be allowed to have housing. They should not be allowed to have jobs. They should not be allowed to have health care. Once you start getting into that we can't disagree about that, because if you really believe that some types of people don't deserve the same thing that other types of people deserve or have access to, then that's just not okay. Okay. So how do we disagree with people when we have disagreements? Maybe even on more difficult conversation, or maybe on immigration. There are a lot of problems with the U.S. immigration system. Part of the problems lies in the fact that we've spent so many years admiring the immigration problem. People are able to get elected to office because of the immigration problems. They really don't want to fix the immigration problems because it allows them to do what it is that they want to get out of this problem with immigration. They really don't want to fix it because that's what they kind of need that problem to get what they want. But we can have conversations about immigration. I can have conversations with people where we have some disagreements about immigration in general. I can't agree to disagree with tearing families apart and putting them in cages like they're in jail. I cannot agree to disagree with going into schools and collecting children and putting them in Department of Correctional buses. I cannot agree to disagree with loading up people in Miami and shipping them to Massachusetts. To me, that's not agreeing to disagree. Anytime you're hurting people or taking away their rights or taking away their freedom to actually live, then we can't agree to disagree on that. Okay? But I can agree to disagree in politics, even when I believe I'm right and I believe the person is wrong. You can have healthy conversations. The problem is we've gotten to the place where you can't have these healthy conversations because we have been, if we want to use the words conservative and liberal, which I don't like using those words because they generalize and stereotype in ways that don't apply. If we were having some conversations, people would say, "Oh, you're a conservative." If we have most conversations with me, people would say, "Oh, you're liberal." And it kind of depends on who I'm having the conversation with. If I'm having a conversation with people that are mostly liberal, some of them would call me conservative. If I'm having conversations with a group of people that are mostly conservative, they would call me a liberal. But what we found is the people that are the most conservative are doing most of the talk for the conservative group, and the people that are the most liberal are doing most of the talk for the liberal group. And they are so far in these spectrums on opposite ends, it's not even possible to have conversations here in the middle, where this group over here is saying terrible things and lies about this people, and these people over here are calling out the extreme of these people, and we're talking about, I almost think of this as the bell curve, okay? So we're talking about 1.3% of the people over here are in the extremes and 1.3% of people over here in the extremes, and then you come up one standard deviation, and what are you looking at? 13 to 15% in this extreme and 13 to 15% over here. So then we've got about 30. So we've got 70% of the movable middle, okay, right here. We can't have any conversations in here because even the people that are here, it depends. If the other people in their life are mostly over here, they're going to be repeating talking points from here. And if most of the people they talk to are over here, then they're going to be repeating talking points from these people over here. And those talking points and these talking points are so extreme that it takes this movable middle here in the middle, the 70%, and splits them to where they can't even talk with each other in the middle when they are the people that are the most alike. I'm getting kind of fired up. I shouldn't have thrown out my notes for today. But I decided I want to go by my notes. I just want to talk to you, which I guess what a podcast is, having a conversation. I'm going to have to start bringing some people in on the conversations here. Okay. So we've gotten to this place where we can't talk to each other. That's kind of the premise of my book. Sometimes you have to stir the pot. That's also the premise of a book by, let me get it here. That's also the premise of a book. It's purple. Where is it? Trying to find a purple book here. Here. That's also the premise of this book, Talking Across the Divide by Justin Lee. And really, he wrote this book kind of at the time where I was writing some of the essays that I had on sometimes you have to stir the pot. It's like, how do you have those conversations you need to have when your differences are so great? And that's kind of like what Justin Lee did in this book here. In fact, he's got red and blue and the crossover is purple. I mean, that wasn't on accident. That was on purpose. So it's like, how do we do that? How do we do that? And it's not easy. Because you can't have these conversations in the middle with these other people in the middle, because even the people in the middle have these ideas over here that are in, and you'll say, oh, you're repeating the talking points of this extreme group, and it has to do with who you're hanging out with. And the person says, I did not. Those are my ideas. I came up with those on my own. Absolutely not. when you surround yourself with those people, those talking points come in. You start, I think I'm in the movable middle, but way over here next to on the end of the liberal group, not quite to the liberal extremes, but you know what? This is where I hang out. So I hear a lot of these extreme liberal ideas, and I'm sure there are times where I am using talking points that come from the extremes. Of course it happens. So if you're here in the middle, let's say here I am on this side of the bell curve, and I'm over here where someone's on this side of the bell curve, and we're in this 70% of the movable middle here. This person who's very much like me spends all their time way out here with people on this extreme, so they're bringing in some of those talking points that irritate me to my core, and I'm spending my time with people, and I'm bringing in some of these points, and I'm sure I'm irritating them to the core, and then we can't even have conversations about whole topics anymore. And it's not even really about our own individual beliefs. It's the talking points that we've allowed to infiltrate us. So we actually need to practice having conversations about things where we know we have differences of opinion, if they're truly opinion. I don't think it's okay to have an opinion that it's okay to round up people and put them in prison and ship them back off to another country, even if it's not the country they came from. Well, that's cruel and unusual. Can you imagine being carted up and put on a plane or a bus or a boat and sent to a country where you don't even speak the language and you've never been there before? I mean, that doesn't make sense. So what was the real topic of today's podcast? It was how to agree agreeably. Laying the foundation for that. We have problems because we can't disagree agreeably. I would say we can't agree agreeably either. And that's what I want to talk to you about. I'm just sharing from my life here, and this is just me talking. Okay, so here's some of my experiences that I have had in the last few weeks. Around the holidays, we all tend to spend time with family. I have a friend who's going to be with his family today and tomorrow, and he's got some stress about that because they truly are on the opposite ends of the spectrum. If we organize political deviations like the normal bell curve. So he's over here and the rest of his family's over here, and they're going to try and spend some time here around the holidays in the middle. Same with me. In my family that I spent some time with, I think most of my family is right here in the movable middle. However, we're on the very edges of that movable middle towards not the extreme nut job conservatives and not the extreme nut job liberals, but adjacent. And so there are a lot of topics that we don't even discuss when we're together as a family because nobody wins if we go there. Okay? Nobody wins. And it's not worth it. Even jokes. I told a joke yesterday to one of my daughter-in-laws, which is funny, and one of my sons was sitting next to me, and so he did an impersonation of a well-known political person in our country, and I didn't pick up that he was making a joke. And then other people didn't realize I was making my joke, and I had to tell my daughter I was telling a joke. It was a joke, and so and then my son was actually making a joke in the form of an impersonation. We're sitting right beside each other, and had the hairs on our back of our neck weren't already standing up because of the world we live in, we would have really appreciated that little humor there. But as a rule, there's lots of things we do not discuss. Okay. you might say, the elephant in the room, so to speak. I don't know. So there's lots of things we just don't discuss. And you know what? We had a lovely time. The 3 different gatherings I had with my whole family and some, or in chunks of my family. Oh, there were 4 gatherings we had during this holiday season. We had a great time. We had a great time. I have no complaints. I have no sadness, no bitterness, no I did have anxiety before. I always have anxiety before I get together with groups of relatives. But we had a great time. We had a great time. But there really are some things that we don't discuss, you know. This whole area here, talking across the divide, we might be here on the edge of the purple here on the red and the blue side, but it's just not worth it. So we don't go there. So how do we agree agreeably? You just be nice to people, okay? How do you agree agreeably? You just be nice to people. In conversations where no one wins, don't go there. Now, that doesn't mean you stick your head in the sand and you ignore stuff. You don't. It also means that you don't take notes while you're with family and make a list of all the things you want to post on social media and hope that someone reads it and really gets it. Because I really wanted to zing it. I really wanted to zing Aunt Susie. I don't have an Aunt Susie. I made that up. I really wanted to give the zinger to Aunt Susie, but I couldn't do that because I had to be nice in public. But I'm going to post all of these articles and all this crap on social media. And yeah, I said the word crap. I probably shouldn't have. This is a podcast. You're supposed to be nice. But you know what? It fits there. So I'm going to post all this crap on social media because I want to make sure Aunt Susie will see that and say, I wonder if that zinger was meant for me. No, that's not what that's about. I had another, and I almost didn't even want to mention it, but I'm going to because this is my podcast and I'm talking about what's real to me. And so my reality is my reality, even if my reality has errors in it. It's still my reality. So I was at another gathering with a group of friends, and I was really excited about it. We were celebrating a couple things during this holiday season. We had a couple of things to celebrate. Small group, I don't know, 12, 13, 15. I don't think there were 20. And we were just gathered together. And the good thing is, we're all pretty much like-minded. Okay, here's the bell curve. We're all down on here. We have some that are towards the extreme, but most of us are around that edge of the movable middle right there. And so we're all very, very similar in our beliefs and our politics and everything. But it wasn't about that. We're together for the holidays and some other things to celebrate. And it was just a good time. So, agreeing agreeably. We're all people that agree on big chunks of stuff. And we're having a little celebration. We're having fun together. And at one point, it got political. And people are upset. And people are passionate. And I understand that because I'm upset and I'm passionate as well. And people are very agitated. They're very animated in their talk. And I started feeling very anxious. And then I went from feeling very anxious to, I don't like this. I want to leave. I can't leave now. That would be rude. And I got to the place where I wanted to flee. I wanted to escape. But, well, how do I do that? And I knew I couldn't do that. And then I became very, very anxious, irritated, and unhappy. I was unhappy. I felt like this is ruining the celebration. Now, the title of this podcast is Agreeing Agreeably. Everything that everybody said, I agreed with. No one said anything that I didn't agree with. A couple of topics came up where we're not exactly in sync, but we're real close in that area of agreement. Nothing that would cause big problems. No one said anything with which I had disagreement in the grander scheme. So we were in a place where agreeing, agreeable, there's no conflict amongst the people in the room. But there was conflict in me because I'm thinking, I didn't come here for this. This is a gathering. We are all very similar in thought, so we can hang out in all of, and I'm going to use the word crap again, and all of the crap from social media, and all of the crap from the political battles and stress and crap in the world. We can escape that because there's no one in our little group over here that's from this extreme. There's not even people here in this movable middle that spend so much time that they've got some of those talking points, and some of that crap hasn't got on their own shoes. And so I was so happy to spend this time, and I'm still happy for that time. I mean, days have gone by now, and I can look back and say, what a lovely time that was we had. And it was. But in that moment where it should have been a time of just agreeing agreeably, we're all so much alike, this is great, and I got to the place where I hated it. I felt attacked, not personally on the views, but I felt attacked because I wanted to be in a safe space without all of that mess. And I felt like it was stolen from me, and I was forced into a situation that I did not want to be in. Now, I'm just talking about me. This is not anything bad about anyone else in that conference. And you know what? I was there in that room. And as people were talking, I put my 2 cents in because that was the conversation I was having. So it could be the person sitting next to me was hoping we wouldn't talk about this, and they heard me saying stuff. So how do we agree agreeably? Sometimes we have moments where we don't have to bring up all of our battles that are outside the room, outside our families, outside our jobs, outside our neighborhoods, outside our state, outside our country, outside our political affiliations, outside our churches. Sometimes we just need the time just to be and be present and just be there for each other as human beings. Hey, how are you doing? Give me a hug. That's all I want. I'd like some more of that cheesecake, please. So while I've written a book on we don't know how to disagree agreeably anymore, and Justin Lee has written a book kind of about his book. My book is more about, here are some topics I want you to find people that you disagree with and have a conversation. So I'm giving you 52 conversations to have here, and we're going to have those 52 conversations on this podcast throughout 2025. But Justin Lee talks more about the process of having conversations with people you disagree with. A very good book if you haven't. Justin Lee has written another book that's life-changing as well. But anyway. Okay, that's my podcast for today. I threw out my notes. It's going to be a nightmare trying to edit this. Thank you for watching. If you like this content, be sure to like, subscribe, and share these videos.